sliced it. It's sliced back there. And there's some little butter in the pattern of leaves.
Good morning, my friends. We're going to begin. Woo! Begin with a sneeze. And a stand if you'd like. If you'd like to stand and sing with me, we're going to sing I Walk the Unfrequented Road, number 53 in the hymnal. I walk the unfrequented road with open eye and ear. I watch her field the farmer load the bounty of the year. I filch the fruit of no one's toil, no trespasser am I. And yet I reap from every soil and from the boundless sky. A beauty springtime never knew haunts all the quiet ways, and sweeter shines the landscape through its veil of autumn haze. I face the hills, the streams, the wood, and feel with all her kin. My heart expands their fortitude, and peace and joy flow in.
I have to say I was having trouble finding the key for that one. I sounded like a goat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
that's an inside joke. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. I want to welcome all of you to our space today. Those of you who are with us in the room this morning, as well as those who are live streaming with us and those who are Zooming with us, it's great to have all of you. We begin, as always, by embracing all that you bring with you, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, all that helps make you who you are. So welcome to one and all this morning. We do have quite a few announcements to make this morning. First, I want to give you the latest update on church member Jacob Johns, who I think most of you know was in Albuquerque just over a week ago now, and was the man you may have heard about in the news who was shot by somebody during a demonstration. Jacob is still in the hospital. The last I heard, he was undergoing a third surgery, and his white blood cell count keeps going up. He still has a fever, so not out of the woods yet. He did call me a few days ago, and we got to talk for a while. He was very upbeat and positive about the future, but also on a lot of pain meds, as you might imagine. So still not out of the woods by far. So please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. He's asked us to do that, so we're keeping him and his entire family in our thoughts at this time. And we'll check in. I'll check in on Jacob again this week and keep you posted as much as I can. Also, another reminder that our community auction deadline is happening, it is actually October 11th, happening this Wednesday. So if you haven't contributed to our community auction yet, please consider doing so as soon as possible and letting us know what you might be able to contribute, whether it's a a service or an event, a dinner at your home, or renting a cabin out for a weekend, or teaching somebody to cross stitch, whatever it might be that you can contribute is much appreciated. And put on your calendars Sunday, October 22nd, following our second service, we're going to have our fall harvest potluck. So it should be an opportunity to have a lot of fun and enjoy each other's company even more than usual. Please bring a pasta, a salad, a bread, a dessert, something like that to share on October 22nd. And if you're one of the vast number of people who come during our first service, and you want to come back for the second service for that, you can do that. For those of you who live stream or are Zooming with us, I'm sorry that this will be one of those in-person events that you can't attend with us. Hopefully you'll be with us in spirit and enjoying some sort of delicious morsels at that same time with us in mind. Okay, I do want to welcome the Zoom attendees real quickly, if Todd doesn't mind bringing them up on screen. There we go. Looks like you guys have a smaller than usual crowd too, but I see at least 4 happy faces. How's everybody doing today? Oh, Todd's turning you up. Hang on. There we go.
Todd, we actually have about 15 people on at the moment. You may not be able to see everybody.
I only see 4 windows. Well, good. Great.
Okay. So, yes, we have quite a few.
Yeah.
Some of us incognito.
Yes, I can see all of you now. I wish I could give all of you a chance to say something this morning, but there's so many of you, which is wonderful. How's everybody doing? Any general comments?
I can say that I'm really happy to be here, and I'm sitting in France.
France, well, wonderful, wonderful, great to have you all the way from another.
That makes it a little. And I know that it's about 9 o'clock where you are.
Wow, wonderful. Well, you certainly get the award for being farthest away this morning. But it's great to have you close at heart, at least, with us. So that's great. That's great. It's
You probably know that we have a different date, because if we waited till November, you'd have to dig your vegetables out of the snow, and so that's why we always have it in the second week in October.
all right. I might have missed the first part of that, Terry. Why don't you say that again?
Oh, well, I was just wishing everybody a happy Canadian Thanksgiving, and hope you have things that you're feeling thankful for here. And we have an earlier time than November, because it's too cold in November.
You're not as thankful at that point of the year.
Exactly.
Well, great. Well, it's wonderful to have you, and happy Thanksgiving. We're certainly thankful to have all of you here, and today I would say on this Canadian Thanksgiving, I'm thankful for North American Unitarian Association, which I'll be talking more about later on during our service, giving folks my thoughts and an update on that. But good reason to be thankful today. So thanks again to everybody for being here. I also want to give a couple of minutes this morning to one of our church members, Linda Green, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Memorial Garden and how others can get involved. Linda?
Yeah, it's a little high, yeah. Hi, my name is Linda Green, and I'm the chair of the Memorial Garden team. On the team with me are Jean Larson, Judy Gammon, Jan Strobeck, Lynn Janetian, and our adjunct member, Julie Jose. For a little background, in October 2001, a visioning process by church members resulted in a consensus that a memorial garden was a high priority. Judy Gammon and Jean Larson were the leaders of teams charged with overseeing regulations and use of the garden, as well as construction and raising funds. A landscape designer was hired and construction was begun in 2002. Thousands of dollars in construction costs were saved due to the generous work of church volunteers who shoveled, planted, moved dirt, and installed electrical and irrigation lines. From our partner church, the Jose's obtained the design of the entrance gate, which was built by Gordon Larson, Larry Hodge, and others. Now we have a beautiful garden for your contemplation and enjoyment. Our team's mission is to maintain and steward the memorial garden, and that's in perpetuity, and to promote the garden within the congregation. That's what we're doing today. We have new updated brochures available at our table in the Friendship Hall. The brochure explains the process for the use of the garden and the application for engraving names. The Memorial Garden Fund is held in trust by the church and is financed by members who wish to have their names engraved on one of the stones at the time of their death. The cost to our members has remained exactly the same as it was at our garden's inception. Besides engraving, our other expenses include a newly installed column, pavers to expand the walking area, and maintenance of the soothing water feature. The Memorial Garden team wishes to thank members and friends from Buildings and Grounds and other volunteers who show up when asked to assist in the upkeep of this beautiful space on our church grounds. Today, we invite you to view the garden, walk through its serenity, and feel the love that has been put into the surroundings. Jean Larson and Julie Jose are leading tours. Other members of the team and I will be at the back with our new beautiful brochures to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, and thanks to the team for all they do to keep the Memorial Garden up. If you've not visited our Memorial Garden, I suggest you might do so after the service. It will be getting cold here soon too, and it won't look nearly as nice. But I think the water feature is still running, and it is a beautiful grounds out there and a beautiful space. So you can just go out those double doors and check it out yourself. So. They're getting a tour. Oh, they're going to get the tour if you want to. Yeah. Sorry, I should have listened to what you had to say. Yeah, I won't make that mistake again. Okay. But anyway, thank you. Yeah. Okay, let's take a couple of minutes now to greet one another now that Betsy has arrived. We can begin. No, just kidding, Betsy. But let's take a few moments to say hello this morning, please. All right, that was a lot of preliminary stuff this morning, but we are going to move forward with our service now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reflection today is Mary Oliver's poem, The Journey, chosen for its theme of moving forward despite challenges and conflicting voices. One day, you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. "Mend my life," each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of the clouds, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save.
If you'd like to stand and sing with me, I believe this is another newer hymn, This Land of Bursting Sunrise. It's very pretty. Number 82. This land of bursting sunrise, all lavender and blue, its cloud-strewn light-swept day skies flow, and every day renew. To east the glow of dawning, to west the blaze of night, round all the long horizon's rim, the everlasting light. This land of open vistas, life rooted deep and free, thy canyon plains, thy mountains vast, plumb earth's immensity. Here in life's fragile balance, the sun and stars above find hand in hand and heart to heart the everlasting love.
Thank you. Beautiful. We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning. And we begin, as we have been, on behalf of the people of Ukraine and that part of the world being impacted by the war and violence there. And of course, I know we're all terribly troubled by the violence that is going on in the Middle East. That it's been going on since 1948, but it's one of those periods in that conflict in which things are absolutely terrible for everybody involved, for the whole world, but particularly Israelis and Palestinians both. So we are thinking of them this morning. And again, of course, a candle for church member Jacob Johns and his family, and we are just wishing him all the best and to begin to feel better and get out of the hospital soon. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
When the sun sets, the rivers are rosy and a shiver runs through fields of wheat. A suggestion to be happy seems to rise from all things and moves toward the troubled heart. A suggestion to taste the charms of the world while one is young and the evening is beautiful. For we move on as this wave moves on, it to the sea and we to the grave.
Well, I know a couple of years ago we decided to change the order of service so that the time for all ages would be after the offertory, but now every week, Todd or I have to just take a moment to gather ourselves, right? After such beautiful work by Maura and Madeline. So, today's story for all ages is about change. That's something that Todd is going to be talking about. You've already heard a little bit from Lynn about this idea of change and moving on a journey. Some things change over time, but the most important things tend to stay the same, even when things all around them change. Unitarian Universalism is changing, and the North American Unitarian Association is helping to keep some of those most important things special. And when I think about the idea of change, I think about technology. I'm only 40, but I've seen so many changes in my lifetime. When I was 9, I got my first cassette tape. It was by a group named In Vogue, and I thought they were so cool. And a couple years later, CDs came out, and I listened to Dave Matthews nonstop in my car on the way to school. Because my car had a CD player, and it was very fancy at the time. If I still had those CD players, those CDs, I'd be able to play them on the CD player that for some reason is still in the RE office. Today, I can still listen to In Vogue and Dave Matthews, but I can do it right here on my cell phone. The type of technology has changed, but something important has stayed the same. I can still listen to music. Let's look at a couple of more things that I found in the RE office. The children, when I asked them this in the second service, they might not know what this is, but do you all know what this is? It's a DVD, yes. And Netflix just mailed out their last DVD rental because most people now watch their movies and TV shows through a streaming device. The type of technology has changed, but something important has stayed the same. People can still watch movies. In Unitarian Universalism, we have been using the 7 principles to guide our faith since 1985. And that was a long time ago when people were in fact making that switch from cassette tapes into the world of CDs. Are the principles the changing technology, or are they the important unchanging thing? There's a lot of people debating that right now. But we know that as long as we find people to move forward with who want to embrace new technology and keep the important things special, we can change and change again and again, and we'll be okay.
As we move into a time of meditation, you're invited to find a comfortable, receptive position. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a few deeper breaths and reflect on these words from Ray Bradbury's novel, Fahrenheit 451. Oh God, the terrible tyranny of the majority. We all have our harps to play, and it is up to you to know with which ear you'll listen.
Thank you. It's another Sunday where I have to follow that. Listen, your shiny star deserves a place to perform and to shine frequently. We're just so fortunate to have it shine here with us. So thank you, and Maura, thank you for your magnificent accompaniment. We are very fortunate. We have lots of musical talent in this church, obviously, and I want to give a shout out to Todd Milne as well, who is also one of our incredible musicians. We need to get Todd back up here performing soon. So, yes.
That's my job.
That's your job? You'll help us with that. Yeah, good. Because, I was just thinking, hearing you guys today, I said, oh my God, we don't even believe in the Trinity, but we've got the Trinity of fantastic musicians here. So, speaking of a new dawn and a new day, Carl Sagan once said, you have to study the past in order to understand the present. I think this principle explains why I'm often so long-winded, because as a logical person, I try to trace the historical trail of breadcrumbs that led to whatever I'm talking about. As philosopher George Santayana famously said, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. It's also true that by forgetting or ignoring the past, we can get lost while journeying toward the future. Lost like little Hansel and Gretel did after the birds ate the breadcrumbs that they'd left on the ground to help them find their way home. Without the breadcrumbs, without history, we may know where we want to end up, but we have no way of knowing how to get there. We know the end, but can't remember the means. We've lost our way. In Unitarian Universalism, Enlightenment liberalism is our ideological home, and its principles, reason, freedom, and tolerance, rooted in our commitment to the inherent worth and dignity of every person, are the breadcrumbs that guide us in any direction by reminding us where we are from. They are the principles that will get us where we want to go. They are the means to our ends. They are our way. Several years ago, I began noticing many in the Unitarian Universalist Association weren't necessarily adhering to these values anymore. They weren't going about things in a liberal way. And the more I noticed it, the worse it got. This began not in our pews, but among the leaders of our association, both its ministers and some of those heading the association. It was subtle at first. There was less tolerance for different thoughts, and some, especially older white males, felt increasingly unwelcome to speak freely at our collegial gatherings. At its gatherings, the UUA began focusing mostly on a particular brand of anti-racism at the exclusion of additionally important matters. Then in 2017, after a job applicant claimed she wasn't hired by the UUA because of white supremacy, the association went berserk, acting as if the absurd and unsubstantiated claim must be true, and that rooting out white supremacy from our congregations was now the only and entire point of our religion. That was the impetus for me writing the Gadfly Papers, which documented the worst instances of illiberal and un-UU behavior that I was aware of, while reminding us of our true history and historic values, while tracing the breadcrumbs. My intention was to make those in our pews aware of what was happening so we might make a course correction before things got out of hand. My plan was to give the book to at least one member of every congregation represented at the 2019 General Assembly, where I gave it away. And my hope was that this might help slowly spread the word about what was happening. Instead, within just a few hours, I was banned from returning to the assembly. Within a day, 2 letters were signed by hundreds of ministers calling me and my book racist, homophobic, transphobic, ableist, classist, without citing a sentence. Within a month, I was fired from Meadville Lombard as an adjunct professor, where I earned my doctorate, without explanation, and was censured by the UU Ministers Association. And by the end of the year, I was disfellowshipped, our term for being excommunicated from the official order of UU ministers, by the UUA's Ministerial Fellowship Committee, the MFC. As difficult as all that was to go through, the shocking and knee-jerk response to my book proved its points far better than anything I'd written in it, and helped make the Gadfly Papers the best-selling book among Unitarian Universalists ever. If you want to sell a book, just get it banned. If you don't want people to read it, just ban it. Alas, my expectation that such awareness would have restored sanity to our association has since been dashed. At one point in my book, I asked the UUA to be transparent about this institutional change so that those who may fundamentally differ with this approach can offer their dissent or at least decide if they wish to remain part of it. Up to that point, their efforts to rudimentarily change our religion into its opposite had been clandestine and secretive. But since the Gadfly Papers, after years of trying to discredit me and my book, they have begun doing exactly as I asked. They have come clean about their intention to fundamentally transform our liberal religion into something else. Sadly, these intentions remain shielded from any meaningful criticism or serious discussion. In the Gadfly Papers, I also predicted an almost inevitable split by those deciding to abandon a faith that had abandoned them. Although the serious tone was really a call to prevent this likelihood, I ended my book by saying, I hope it doesn't come to this, but if it's the only way to remember and recommit to our once cherished principles of reason, freedom of conscience, our common humanity, we may have no other choice. For me, the final straw came in the spring of 2022 after it became apparent the UUA had abandoned our commitment to democratic processes, not only by stifling dissenting opinions, but by holding sham elections, the outcomes of which had already been orchestrated, including what would effectively be the appointment, not the election, the appointment of the next UUA president by only a handful of individuals. Shortly thereafter, as I had also previously predicted, the UUA leadership announced their intention to remove our seven principles from its bylaws, some version of which have been around since the association was formed in 1961, and this particular version, as Stephanie said, since 1985. At that point, after nearly 4 years of pushing back, reminding the UUA of our historic values and appealing to the better angels of their nature, it became obvious that things had only worsened and that we were wasting our time and our energy. So in December of 2022, in a sermon entitled The End of an Era, I announced the formation of the North American Unitarian Association, NAUA. Although it took a bit longer than expected, by March, our steering committee had received our articles of incorporation from Washington State. We had our preliminary website up, and we were able to receive members, 37 of whom joined the first day. We could accept contributions, and thanks to everybody who has so generously supported us so far. And we could already provide a few basic services, including NAUA Academy courses, a monthly worship service, a monthly clergy support gathering, our excellent digital magazine, The Liberal Beacon. Shortly thereafter, we formed a provisional board of trustees that went to work creating a provisional set of bylaws. These are both considered provisional until we have our first annual meeting when our members can officially elect board members and approve official bylaws. Between members and subscribers, we currently have over 700 individuals involved with NAUA. We have many who have joined as individuals, although the larger portion of our members were included when their organizations joined. So to date, we have 4 organizational members: the UU Congregation of Shoals, the Shoals in Florence, Alabama, the Hayward NAUA Fellowship in Hayward, California, and of course the UU Church of Spokane right here, and UMIAC, the acronym for the UU Multiracial Unity Action Council, an organization formed by the recently deceased Reverend Dr. Finley C. Campbell, whom we miss greatly, that exist for the purpose of uniting the light-skinned and dark-skinned people of the world. When an institution joins, or an organization, all its members become our members, unless an individual requests to be removed from our membership list. Unlike the UUA, everyone who is a member of NAUA will have a vote in our elections and a say in important matters. This is the 21st century, and technology now exists to make this happen. Unfettered democracy is essential to any organization claiming to be liberal. And this is why NAUA is committed to providing a ballot in every box. We will not send out virtue signaling emails complaining about voter suppression in the wider society while our own association is stifling dissent and orchestrating the outcome of elections. Not going to happen. We hope to have our first annual meeting within the first year to year and a half of our existence. In fact, we legally need to. So we now have enough devoted members, something I'm really excited about, to have begun pulling together various committees and teams of volunteers. Having reached such a point after only a few months of launching is more than I could have anticipated or hoped for. Building a solid committee infrastructure will ensure that NAUA is sustainable and not dependent upon the efforts of a small group of people who can only do so much and are subject to burnout. To date, in addition to our provisional board of trustees, we have a membership committee, a worship committee, an NAUA clergy support committee, an NAUA academy committee, a website committee, an editorial board, and a ministerial services committee, with several more in the works, like a finance committee, international ministries committee, annual meeting committee, among others. So please let us know if you want to volunteer to join a committee with NAUA. So ministerial services is another major area in which NAUA will differ substantially and philosophically from the UUA, and I want to spend a little time with that this morning. So I've been a Unitarian Universalist long enough to know that most of our members, including many of our ministers and ministerial aspirants, falsely, wrongly believe that a person becomes a minister once they are approved by the UUA's Ministerial Fellowship Committee, the MFC, something the UUA has not dissuaded us from mistakenly believing. This belief is not only wrong, but it is also an affront to our liberal tradition. The UUA website currently states that the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, MFC, has jurisdiction over all phases of ministerial credentialing. They wish. And they have fooled a lot of us into believing this is so. Here's what the UUA bylaws actually say in Article 11. Each member congregation has the exclusive right to call and ordain its own minister or ministers. Let me say that again. Each member congregation has the exclusive right to call and ordain its own minister or ministers, but the association has the exclusive right to admit ministers to ministerial fellowship with the association. I have always found it remarkable that the UUA chose to contradict its centuries-old right of our congregations in the very same sentence in which they affirm it. Congregations have the exclusive right to ordain ministers, but the association has the exclusive right to admit them into ministerial fellowship. To understand its significance, this is an instance in which we need to trace the historic breadcrumbs. In this case, to the Reformation, when our peculiar ministerial tradition began. So prior to then, ministers and priests were ordained and placed by the church authorities. Congregations had no choice in whom their minister would be, nor in whom would become a minister. But during the Reformation and the Renaissance, it led to, during which an emphasis on human welfare and individual dignity first began to emerge, there were those, as Unitarian historian Charles Howe says, and their numbers were large, who were seeking a religious community of free spirits, one with no set standards of belief, little formal organization, and no prescribed forms of worship. Although they were hard to define because of their diversity, he says, these people became known as Anabaptists, a name that means re-baptizers. They earned this nickname because they deeply believed that religion should not be forced upon anyone, but should be a matter of individual choice. So they rejected the validity of infant baptism, since infants had no choice in the matter. They would only accept those who had freely chosen to be baptized again as adults. The idea was considered heresy by both the Catholics and other reformers who persecuted the Anabaptists into extinction. Although their remnants went on to become Baptist, Mennonites, and us, Unitarians. In fact, it was among these Anabaptists, Howe says, that the Unitarian heresy, and incidentally the Universalist heresy as well, first broke out during the early years of the Reformation. That's our beginning. Those are our roots, with a deep commitment to individual choice and freedom in all matters, particularly religious matters. To this day, Baptist and Unitarian churches are autonomous, and as the UUA bylaws admit, have the exclusive right to call and ordain its own minister or ministers. But, as these bylaws also indicate, the UUA has fashioned a workaround, which leads them to believe, in their own words, they have the jurisdiction over all phases of ministerial credentialing. Ha! We didn't give them that. They don't have that authority. That's crazy talk, man. This presumptive overreach, which should be considered the antithesis of the free religion our theological ancestors died for, has allowed the UUA to strictly control the flow of ministers to our congregations and gives them the final say, not us, in who gets ordained. And in recent years, those aspirants who don't ascribe to the association's particular beliefs don't get credentialed, and our congregations never knew they existed. We ordain the ministers they send to us. That's the system. We ordain the ministers they tell us it's okay to ordain. That's the system. And increasingly, those like me who got through the MFC before this craziness began are having our credentials stripped away and our names placed on the UUA website telling the world that we are abusive bullies who are ethically unfit for ministry. This illiberal, unjust, and destructive chain of ministerial supply unnecessarily cost our congregations thousands of dollars in what is a very restricted and controlled ministerial search process. In my opinion, it has also resulted in the worrisome ministerial shortage that the UUA is now experiencing. In what it called a bellwether moment, a May 2023 UUA communication to the members of the UU Ministers Association explained that for years the transitions office would hear from about 25 to 30 newly fellowshipped ministers looking to consider congregational ministry, 25 to 30 a year, wanting to find a church. The last 2 years, it's been 5 ministers, then 8. That's an alarming shortage that has left dozens of congregations unable to even find interim ministers. There may be many reasons for this shortage, but I believe the UUA's authoritarian and illiberal approach toward ministry must be partly to blame. Who would want to be part of this madness? And I've talked to students at both of the UU seminaries. I know what they're going through. I would not want to subject myself to that today. In our attempt to restore liberalism to our liberal religion, NAUA will handle ministerial supply much differently. We're going to get rid of the but. There is no but. Maybe a few rumps. NAUA not only recognizes the exclusive right of our congregations to not only ordain, call, and install their ministers, but also to decide what credentials they will require. Some may require less experience and education than others. That's fine, it's up to them. Ours is a tradition in which many of our greatest ministerial figures came to us directly from another religion, including the great John Dietrich from our own congregation, right out of the Dutch Reformed Church. This is why, after being declared a heretic, by the way, this is why NAUA will not erect a gateway between ministers and our congregations. Ours will be a clearinghouse in which congregations and ministers in search can easily see and contact each other any time of the year, free of charge. In this way, we will enrich and diversify our pool of ministers. This particular service is a work in process, but already NAUA has done much to restore the kind of welcoming, open-minded, and supportive community its members were once accustomed to, by allowing us to work with and learn with and visit with and worship with other Unitarians and Universalists during our regular gatherings, our many regular gatherings. And I believe this is the sort of community and atmosphere that will continue drawing others to us, including ministers wishing to serve communities that genuinely respect the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Our liberal tradition began with the Anabaptists' profound belief in the necessity and right of adults to make their own decisions. including choosing their own ministers, and this remains the deepest belief of NAUA. We are here to serve and support our members, not to govern them. It is this commitment to our first and guiding principle that I will end with. Until recently, I had suggested that NAUA members maintain membership within the UUA. That's still your choice. But a couple of weeks ago, during our most recent NAUA Academy offering, Left versus Right, What's Happening Ain't Exactly Clear, by the brilliant Ken Ing, who showed us a line from a UUA study action issue approved in 2018, something I'd previously missed but hit me like a ton of bricks, stating, decentering whiteness calls us to decenter individual dignity for our collective liberation. Decentering whiteness calls us to decenter individual dignity for our collective liberation. There's a lot packed into this indigestible word salad. Firstly, decentering whiteness is a euphemism that conceals an approach that seeks to level the playing field by bringing some people down instead of lifting everyone up. Let's just make everybody equally as miserable. That's fair. The term collective liberalism likewise conceals the postmodern doctrine of collectivism that believes individuals must be sacrificed for the sake of the community, the state, and the authorities. Right out of the postmodern playbook. And most disturbing of all is this call, we are called to eliminate, by the way, who's doing the calling? To eliminate individual dignity. We are called to eliminate individual dignity. The very core, the very heart, the very definition of what it means to be liberal. The UUA is no longer committed to this principle above all. And if that is so, it is no longer a liberal religion and no longer shares my values. So I've decided that I can no longer in good conscience remain a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association. They're probably glad to hear that. In rejecting the inherent worth and dignity of every person, no matter their color or status in the world, it has adopted a destructive, divisive, and harmful ideology that I cannot be part of. This week, I will send a personal correspondence to the UUA asking to be removed from its membership rolls. This is a huge decision, but because NAUA now exists, I lose nothing in doing so. I'm leaving the UUA, and in doing so, I won't lose my spiritual community. I won't lose my values, nor my ability to continue making a meaningful difference in the world. In walking away from the UUA, I don't have to walk away from my religion. But I must walk away. If the UUA someday turns around, we will be here with open arms, but for now, I can no longer justify being part of an organization that I believe has become a harmful and dehumanizing presence in the world. From this point forward, I am not interested in the UUA. I will focus my attention and energies on the good work of NAUA in doing all that it is doing and all that we shall continue to accomplish to help liberal religion survive and thrive. And I close with deep gratitude for the members of this congregation who have continued to support me through all that we have gone through together these past years, and for the many of those near and far who have joined NAUA and are now volunteering to help our budding association become an important and meaningful presence in our lives and in our world. NAUA would be nothing without all of you. So let me close with another brief anecdote. In the Brothers Grimm's story of Hansel and Gretel, it isn't just breadcrumbs the twins drop to find their way home, crumbs that easily get snatched up by birds. They also drop shiny stones on the ground, which don't show up very easily during the day. But at night, during their darkest hour, the moonlight shines upon them to illuminate the way. Today, Unitarian Universalism is experiencing one of its darkest hours ever. Yet we too have shiny stones to illuminate the path. We call those stones freedom and reason and tolerance, rooted in what remains our central commitment to the inherent worth and dignity of every person, of every individual. Some may succeed in snatching away a few of the crumbs we've dropped along the way, but these values remain solid and will continue to guide us. For this is our way. Thank you.
Please stand if you'd like. Join me for our last hymn with Heart and Mind, number 300.
To make our purpose
Our benediction today is from author and foreign policy analyst Iveta Cherneva. Headed to the top. The only question, as I meet you on my way is if you're coming with me or not. Amen. Blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.